Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 307, Okay, but what are you thinking about it? And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. Friends, I'm so glad to have you along the journey with me. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Sean. Today is Monday, May 6th. This is episode 307 of the Experience of the Soul.
What?
I know, right? And the episode title is, Okay, but what are you thinking about it?
No. But what do you think?
Oh, but what do you think? That's what it is?
No. You got it right.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, what do you think? I see what you're doing.
It was a thing there.
Yeah, we can keep going with that for a while.
Yeah. But what are you thinking about it? No, what are you thinking about it?
Yeah. Happy to be here with you.
It's rare I can throw you off, Sean.
I love it. Now it's going to become a challenge.
Yeah. Every week, how can I throw Sean off?
Well, friends, we are certainly happy that you're joining us here today. And we wanted to take a moment to let you know that we're going to be doing another campaign coming up here. We're trying to raise some money to keep the podcast going. So if we are having a positive impact on your lives, if you are getting something out of the work and the word that we're putting out there, we appreciate you sort of supporting it and helping us keep it going. So we're doing a campaign starting this month, starting today, right? And it's going toward... Yeah, go ahead.
No. Well, I'm excited about it because every time we've done this, we've gotten it, which says to me you are being supported. And, you know, we're honored to do it. It's $9,000 in 90 days. And, you know, there'll be a number of people that will give to make that number possible, I'm sure. And friends, thank you. That $9,000 in 90 days covers a lot. And we're really seeking to reach more people around the world. And to do that, we have to have a social media presence. I have to pay fees for licensing, for being on the air, for websites, for ads on social media. All those things start to add up. And so every time you give, it helps us continue the show. So I can't say enough thank yous and gratitudes for all of you who have given and are giving regularly. I can't tell you the difference it makes. So thank you. And I appreciate you in advance for, you know, being a part of the 9,090 days. It sounds like a big ask, and it is. But with the number of people listening, I'm quite sure we can come up with that to keep us on the air and moving forward. So I appreciate you very, very much for giving.
Absolutely. It keeps us going, and it keeps us, helping you get the word out there. Actually, I just wanted to just draw our attention to one of our comments, our recent comments on YouTube's talking sort of about that and the work that you're doing. So this is somebody, a user on YouTube who commented on a previous episode who said, "What great work you are doing. Thank you again for all of your time and effort getting God's message out to all of us."
Wow. I had not seen that one yet. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that's how I feel about it too, and the fact that I'm now a part of it is even more fulfilling for me. And so I'm just, it's just thrilled to be a part of it. And
well, and Sean, me too. I mean, I know, I'm the host, right? And so people think, well, this is my thing and this is my organization. I really feel I am serving God. I feel honored to be a part of it because this is not some, ego need of mine. Frankly, it would be easier to not do the show, right? Right? Yeah. But I love doing the show. I'm not saying I don't love it, but what I'm saying is it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of prayer work, and I love to do it because I know it's what God has for me to do. And I know when I get comments back like that we are absolutely on purpose. So thank you for reading that one today. And I will ask you, every now and then I'll say, I could really use some lifting up. Will somebody send me a good word? Because it's like I'm giving these messages out. I'm so used to being in person. But as with this month, my business is moving online, and I'm going to be doing, weekly talks, and those are going to be available, on a weekly basis. I mean, everything's going to be online. So
it's true. It's going. So last week you actually spoke about, rolling with the changes sort of technology, and how how we're kind of going to church online, most of us, nowadays. And that's bringing your message, your ministry to, fully to an online platform. I think is going to be huge.
I do too. Well, and again, I mean, it's just changing my thinking about it, because it is a ministry. It is a way to reach people. And, I am a product of my generation, like anyone is. And to grow, in this area is a stretch, but I know it's mine to do. And it's exactly, the topic for today. So give us the title one more time, because I know it's a funny one to say.
Yeah, I love that. I actually love saying it. Today's title is, okay, but what are you thinking about it?
Okay, and here's why I said that, because that's exactly how I talk. I go, okay, so this happens.
That's how I hear it in your voice.
Okay,
okay, but what do you think?
But what are you thinking about it? And as my friend Martha Creek often says, well, what are you believing about it? And we're going to get to that. But friends, it's not a new idea, but we seem to forget, right? That our thoughts create our reality. Okay, so. And in a world that is bent on, feeding us messages about how bad everything is, how bad we are, and everything else, it is our thoughts that make it so. And I'll give you an example. This is a very funny example. It just happened to me today, so it's on my mind. Nowadays, everybody is worried about gender, and everybody is concerned with getting your name right and everything else. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I think our attention is at times in the wrong place, and that owning our own power, no matter what people say or do, is super important. And there's this restaurant I've gone to, and I've gone there, over 15 years. And I went to get I made an order over the phone today, and the woman, since I have been there, has said my name wrong. And she always calls me Alex instead of Alice or Cynthia Alice. And that's hilarious. And Sean, are you laughing at me?
Yes, I love it. I can't wait to hear the rest of the story. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure somebody's going to have a comment about what I said about the gender thing, and we'll get to that another day. But it's what I'm really meaning is about where we're focusing. I mean, everybody has a right to do what they want to do. But my point is, sometimes we get so bent on what other people are doing, either around us or to us, instead of owning our own power, our own authority, our own selves. And so this was just a very benign example that even on the phone, we barely understood each other. I was calling a different, a Thai restaurant that I go to all the time. And so then I got there, and the guy who helps me all the time, there's two guys, they know me by name. They have my order memorized. They know my son's order. They know my friends that go in there. And some of my friends just say, give me what Alice gets. Okay, that's how often I go in there. So Andy, one of the guys I know there, goes, oh, hey, did you just work out? I mean, they even know my routine, right? Because I always go in there after my workout. And I go, yeah. He goes, well, what do you have today? I said, oh, I actually already ordered. He goes, you did? I said, oh, it might be under a Alex. He goes, oh, my goodness. Did she do that again? And I go, she did. And I go, and so all is well. He goes, exactly. He goes, she hasn't gotten it right in 20 years. And I said, it doesn't matter. I know who I am. I know who I am, right? So I know it doesn't matter who I'm with, what's on the check or the card. It's always going to be Alex, Alex. And that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. I'm not, you know what I mean? Because she's trying her best. I don't care. I don't care.
I guess it's better than like Adam or,
right. Fred.
Right.
Fred. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if I guess if I were a different gender and somebody were calling me the wrong gender, maybe. But it's like, well, I could call that an attack on my character, or I could just call it what it is, which is a misunderstanding with cultures. And I actually think it's kind of funny. It doesn't bother me at all. And she's always going to know me as Alex. And even when I come in, it's hello, Alex. And that's fine. And that's fine. And that's fine. But again, think about the options, what I could do with that. And I've seen people get just irate and angry if somebody messes up their name. Like, for instance, for years I went by Alice and I started going by Cynthia Alice. And somebody says, what do you prefer? Well, I prefer Cynthia Alice, but Alice is fine. Rev is fine. RCA is fine. I like it all. And it's really okay. But go ahead, Sean. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say it is. I think, we as a society are still growing and evolving and getting to this point where we all understand what it is. Or, I worked, I think I spoke in an earlier episode about my work in the corporate world. And, I was on the hiring side of things. And a lot of times several years ago, people would get very upset if you called them the wrong name or they didn't have their name legally changed yet, because, as from an HR perspective, it's got to be what's on your license, what's on your, it's got to be that name.
Right.
Pardon me. So I think, we've come a long way as far as, understanding how to navigate around all of this. And it's just interesting and it's different. But patience and grace. Grace is a big thing here. If everyone practiced grace, it would be one thing. We had some people who were super understanding, like, no, I totally get it. Haven't changed my name yet, whatever. But we also had people who seemed greatly personally offended.
Right. And I think about that again. It's our thoughts that make it so. If I'm always offended, am I the one with the problem, or are you?
That's good.
That's really something to think about. If I'm constantly being offended, maybe I'm the one with the issue. Might that be so?
Yeah.
And I just don't have a need to demonize other people for getting something wrong. And so again, it's not just about that, because this is I kind of opened up a larger issue that I don't want to go into really in this show, but I want to think about what, our thoughts. Our thoughts create our reality. And again, I always bring up what's happening in the world. Well, the world says get mad about everything, demonize other people. It's us versus them. Our whole political system is built basically on this idea. It's let's get whites hating blacks and blacks hating whites. Let's get Democrats hating Republicans. It's our thoughts about it that make it so. Our thoughts about it make it so. And so it's so important to think about, okay, where is my focus? Our thoughts create our reality. Now, there's going to be somebody out there, and I love that person out there that says, yes, but aren't there negative things happening in the world? Absolutely. I'm going to do a show later called The Problem of Evil. Yes, there is evil in the world. There most definitely is. That said, how am I viewing it? What is the lens I'm looking through? How do I understand it? What is the story I am telling myself about it? And there's a great book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is. If you've never read that book, I want to highly, highly encourage it. And Sean, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to put that in the show notes, Loving What Is by Byron Katie.
Absolutely.
You can also watch some of her videos online as well. And again, it's our thoughts about it that make it so. It's our arguing with reality. And so, somebody can say something to me and I can take it the wrong way. I can make it be a personal attack when it's just an honest mistake. But it's not just about that. It's about everything. I can look at how much money is in my checking account and say I'm not worth anything. Or I can look at money in my account and say, I know more than you, or whatever. But whatever is happening, it's our thoughts about it that make it so. our thoughts create our reality. It becomes the lens which we look through. And so, spiritually, religiously, psychologically, all of these things impact our mindset. So, much of what I teach really is about shifting mindset. I had somebody call me one time a thought coach. And I like that idea because it's how we think about something really, really matters. And it's not just our thinking, though. It is our thinking, and even deeper than that, our believing. I learned many years ago that I think it was from old teaching. I don't think it was actually from Charles Fillmore. I think it was from the founder of religious science, Ernest Holmes, who said it's thought plus feeling that equals manifestation. It's thought plus feeling that is a belief, isn't it? Yes. The scriptures say it is done unto you as you believe. Another scripture from Proverbs says, I learned it, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The New King James says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. That's Proverbs 23:7a. Yeah. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. In other words, the thoughts you think, the thoughts you hold on to, that you believe with a lot of energy and a lot of passion, whatever has the energy behind it, is what you begin to see the world as, and it's what you begin to manifest. We live in a cause and effect world. And it was interesting. I heard a speaker the other day, a minister in another faith, say, I don't believe in the law of cause and effect, or I don't believe in the law of attraction. And it's funny because it's taught all through the scriptures. If you forgive, you will be forgiven. If you judge, you will be judged, right? So the idea is of the law of cause and effect. Whatever I do, I'm going to be calling to myself that exact thing. Whatever I think, create, and believe creates the way I walk through the world. So whatever that is, I'm going to get more of that. And so right now, our world is so locked in an us versus them. I want you to think about, is what we're doing right now as a world working? And then when we take it to the individual, if you think, what am I thinking about? What am I thinking about this situation? I'm always looking through a spiritual lens, and I'm working my way to also thinking about it psychologically. I'm also becoming educated about things. So I naturally approach the world spiritually, but I'm also having to broaden my horizons a little bit, broaden my awareness and thinking, okay, is there something I'm missing on this? So, that's been happening for me politically. That's been happening for me on a societal, the way society is changing. It's happened with me about the gender issue. I'm thinking about it and saying, is there something I'm missing? Why is this coming forth at this time? Am I getting calcified in a belief and not getting curious? And I will share, I never typically do this, but my white stone this year is right here. I don't know. Can you see that? Is stay curious. That's my white stone. We do a white stone at the beginning of every year in the churches I serve in. It's very common in the Unity movement. And the idea is we go into prayer and meditation and we ask Spirit, what is mine to do this year? And so my guidance this year was to stay curious. And also, secondarily, I will share, was also to make time to play, to enjoy life, to not just teach and speak and be serious all the time, but to play. So I'm realizing that, as we age, we can get stuck in a way of thinking. I mentioned earlier that the idea of taking my ministry totally online, has been a hard reality for me because I love people so much. But I'm realizing that not only is it how I live, it's how we all live. And in fact, there's a reason for this shift and change. So rather than resisting that, as I have been, It's like I'm being called to expand in my awareness. It's like I'm being curious about people really wanting that. And I have heard it for a few years. I've heard it for a few years. It's time for you to think about this. It's time for you to think about this. And finally, I'm like, yes, you're right. I'm ready. So I'm fascinated too by the way the mind works, and I've talked about this research many times. I read, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, I was reading an article in Psychology Today, and I often go to psychological publications. I work very deeply in the archetypal realms and symbolically in my own life and my own therapeutic journey. So I'm always interested in figuring out, how did I get to a certain state of being? How did I, arrive in this way of thinking? And there's something, so the article in Psychology Today was explaining something called the negativity bias. And it was at a time when I was just noticing some of the ratcheting up of the news cycle, being story after story of somebody dying or bleeding or, something being bad. And I realized it just feeds this aspect of the brain. And the negativity bias basically says that we are looking for what's wrong. We're looking for what's wrong because that in the past has helped us survive. I guess it's that old reptilian brain back there that has kept us alive, is looking for what's wrong so we know how to avoid it, right? So the negativity bias simply has us finding what is wrong. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we want to be conscious of what we are thinking, feeling, and believing. So there's this unconscious behavior that's going on. We're going, what's wrong? What's wrong? It's like, it's just goes on automatic. And so it will take like a lift, almost like a conscious effort to lift us up and out of that and into conscious thinking, doing, and being. I hope this is making sense what I'm saying. It's like the mind works on automatic. And what I'm trying to get myself to do and us to do is to think consciously. It's why my book on intentions, or my journal on intentions, is so important, because that helps us become conscious thinkers, doers, and beers, right? We want to be conscious. We want to think conscious thoughts. And so what we learn is that whatever we focus on a regular basis is what we bring forth in our lives. This is a powerful knowing for me. It's the inner work. It's the inner work that we're being called to do. In a world where it is commonplace to notice the bad, okay? Now think about that. In a world where it's commonplace to notice the bad, it takes a great deal of spiritual commitment and fortitude to notice the good, to do the inner work, and call forth this good in our lives and our world. But I want you to just let yourself imagine with me, what if the teachers of the world, the business people of the world, the leaders, our police officers, our mayors, our governors, our presidents, realized that our thoughts were things, that our thoughts were creating our reality, and that in their leadership, they began to be conscious thinkers, doers, and beers. I know that's not really a word, beers, but think about that. What would your life be like if you began to be conscious of what you were thinking and believing? How could you shift from this negativity bias of always noticing what was wrong into noticing what is working, into calling forth the good? And the interesting thing is that when we start noticing the good, and we focus on the good, and for me, that takes me right to gratitude, well, then that's going to keep us in the flow of good, in the flow of gratitude, in the flow of things flowing to us and then through us back out as a blessing to the world. So this is my hope. This is my prayer for my life and for my world. As I've parented my son, I've always tried to surround him with positive thoughts, with positive thinking, with remembering his goodness and his wholeness. And he's very aware of what's wrong and what's not working in the world. But he has this way of seeing the world because his whole life, what has he seen? This focus on the good, right? This focus on the good every night before he went to sleep, sometimes after he went to sleep, right. I would say before going to bed, I'd open his door and say, remember, you can do and be anything. If you dream it, you can be it, baby. You're going to be amazing. And his life, I mean, I've watched these thoughts become manifest in his life and world. So I want you to think about this for yourself, because we always want to blame somebody out here for what's happening. Blame this person that the world isn't working, blame the president, blame the governor, blame the mayor. And you say, well, they're not doing it right. Well, that may be. But what I've learned is you sitting and blaming doesn't change them. It keeps you stuck at the same energetic level as other people are doing the wrong. It absolutely does. I was listening to Richard Rohr the other day in my study of the Enneagram. And one of the things he was talking about is when after the Twin Towers, after 9/11 in the U.S., after that happened and the U.S. attacked Iraq, he said, we became like the attackers because it was like energy. I've talked to soldiers, men and women who fought in Iraq, and they told me the same thing. They said, we became the terrorists that day. So what I'm saying is, there are things wrong in the world, most definitely. There is evil in the world, most definitely. If all I'm doing, though, is focusing on what's wrong and saying how wrong they are, I start to unite with that energy, and I start to, in my rejection of it, I become it. It's like I can't remember who I heard say this a million years ago, or I doubt it was my original statement. It may have been, but it was a time where there was some kind of protest going on. And I said, I will always demonstrate for peace, but I will never demonstrate as anti-war. It's like, if you're anti-war, if I'm anti-war, I'm willing to hit you over the head with my peace sign. It's like I'm fighting you. There's a whole new level, friends, that some of us forget to go to that is above this place that our society seems to be locked in. And so it starts with, what am I thinking about it? What am I thinking about it? What am I thinking? What am I believing? It's like, stay curious about your own thoughts. It's like, let me give you another, for instance. Let's say something happens and your first reaction is, this is so bad. Like, you lose a job. Losing that job could be the best thing that ever happened to you, but it is what you're thinking about it that makes it so. It's like, okay, good. You're going to say good when you lose a job? Yes. Okay, good. I don't know what this means, but good. Good. Because it is our thoughts about it that makes it so. And if something happens and there's a loss, there's something we can't explain, I'm going to find the blessing in it. I have a statement I'm fond of saying, that's how I roll. I'm going to try to find the blessing in whatever is happening. And I am going to bless. I'm going to do a whole show, by the way, about that later on. But I want you to stay curious in your thoughts about things. What am I believing about it? About your kids, about your relationship, about your job? What am I believing about it? It's like, my job's hard. I want to leave. Okay. But what are you thinking about it? Now, maybe you need to leave, but let's stop. Let's pause. And let's see, is there a lesson to be learned here before you leave? Because if you jump before you get the lesson, you're going to find it in the next job and the next job and the next job. See, it's like, okay, but what are you thinking about it? Don't believe every thought you think, okay? Say that with me. Don't believe every thought I think. Don't believe every thought I think. Right? It's not the thought that's the problem. It's the attachment to our thinking. Don't believe every thought you think. And thank goodness, friends, that every thought we think doesn't instantly manifest. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Every thought doesn't instantly manifest. But thoughts we think over time do manifest. Thoughts we think over time do manifest. So if there is the law of cause and effect, then there is grace in the law. Most definitely, grace is inherent in the law. That's what I mean. Not every thought we think immediately manifests, but if we think a kind of thought over time, and that becomes a way of doing and being, it becomes the feeling tone of our life. So thoughts held in mind over time will manifest. In Unity, we often call that the law of mind action, and people have this cute little rhyme. They say, thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind reproduce after their kind. But it's not just thoughts, it's thoughts and feeling. So it's a very simple thing. I'm working on a book, and I don't know why this book has not moved forward, and I'm not overthinking it. I just write when I have time. But in the introduction part of the book, I've been talking about every great adventure, every great plan, every discovery has begun in thought. Every one. Everything that you're seeking to do, be, or know begins in thought. So when something happens and you have a reaction, I want you to say, okay, but what am I thinking about it? Am I making this good or bad? Am I making this right or wrong? Let me sit with this and see what this situation is trying to show me. You might need a session with me about it or with a therapist about it. What I do is not therapy, it's spiritual counseling. But I help you see what might be the spiritual reason this is coming forward for you right now. And what I want to help you do is get out of the reactive negativity bias and move into this higher way of looking at things from the place of the soul. And so you're really moving into the observer self more and more and more as we're talking through these things. You'll notice I keep bringing up the observer self. And even today in my own work, it was really interesting because I was doing my deep breaths, and it was really interesting. I noticed I was trying to take deep breaths, and my mind kept wanting to hijack my process about you need to do this, you need to do that. Even though I've meditated for years, that still happens some. Of course, it happens to everybody. And so anyway, or I think it does anyway, it still happens to me. And I was sitting there, my mind started to go, and I said, wait a minute. I'm in my mind and I'm trying to meditate. And I said, I need to call on my observer self. And as soon as I said that, I immediately saw myself. And I was sitting on the edge of the chair like I was ready to jump up and do something. So as I was able to observe my own behavior, I was able to take like 2 or 3 really deep breaths, sit back in the chair. I crossed my legs and was able to relax. And I did another like 30 deep breaths, which was wonderful. It got me right back to center. So friends, I want to help you move out of this, always noticing what is wrong, always in constant judgment. We want to stop that thought process. I want you to say to yourself, oh, okay, what am I thinking about it? What am I thinking about it? If somebody says something to you that they're blah, 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 and they're trying to get you in their drama, say, what am I thinking about it? Don't get sucked into that energy so quickly. Let yourself remove your energy from that. You don't have to join with anger. You don't have to join with somebody else's trauma drama. You don't have to join with the political madness of the day. Stay centered in you and really ask myself, what am I thinking about it? What am I believing? And really, friends, I want to say again, in a world where it is commonplace to be in fear, to harshly judge everything, it takes a great deal of commitment and fortitude, friend, to notice the good and to do the inner work and call it forth. I know it is possible. I know you are capable, because if I can do it, I know you can do it. But it does take a great deal of effort on your part. It's going to take time of unplugging. It's going to take time of you doing inner work. You might do it right before bed. You might do it right when you get up in the morning. Whatever it is, make time to do it. The scriptures say, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Or, what was the other verse? I'm spacing on it now, friends. But you get the idea, right? Oh, the other one I was thinking is from Romans, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So think about it. What am I thinking about it? Right? Okay, but what am I thinking about it? Like, stop yourself from going to the negative and see if you can find a spiritual reason for what's going on. See if you can back away from the negativity and then put new, good, holy, sacred thoughts in its place. That's my hope for you. Because as you do that, you will bring more good, more love, more abundance, more wholeness, more healing into your life and into the world. And friends, our world needs your light and your healing right now. I need it. I need it for myself. I need it for my family. And I want to be the best mom, the best teacher, the best minister, the best podcast host I can be. How I do that is by trying to live to the best of my ability these spiritual practices. And this is my hope for you as well. Thank you for joining me today, dear friends, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. Hello, dear friends. We are so grateful for your continued support of the Experience of the Soul podcast. Your presence and engagement inspire us every week, and we aim to uplift and support your journey in return. So, we have set an ambitious goal to raise $9,000 over the next 90 days, and we invite you to contribute to that mission. Your support will help us continue to bring valuable content that will assist you as you navigate life's path. Please consider making a donation and being a part of our community's growth. Every contribution, no matter the size, will make a difference. All you have to do is head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. We thank you for your generosity, and as always, we are holding you in our thoughts and prayers, and we wish you all of the best in your life's journey.